I'd been avoiding the view on purpose since Tennessee. I hadn't bargained for the way my heart startled and buckled at the sight of the spring green hills cloaked in cloudy smoke, the way my soul seemed to scream and fall to its knees at the earthly sweet smell of home. We weren't anywhere close to home, to the hills and hollers of Red Dragon, West Virginia, but to a girl who'd been living on the unending flat of an Indiana plain since Mother married Papa Shipley. The particulars of where the mountains were didn't matter. There was a chance I'd cry my way through the week, that the hills would draw my father out of the recesses of my and my mother's hearts where we'd hidden him. Or perhaps I'd find a way to continue in this parallel world where Belle Coleman had died completely and risen Belle Newbold.
"What do you suppose we'll do if a bear comes upon our tent in the night?" Marie Austin asked abruptly. "Father said it'll just be the two of us covered in a sheet of canvas. I don't figure that's much protection. I think I heard someone say that you should play dead or perhaps run away. I'm terribly nervous."
She bunched her fingers in her midnight blue satin skirt, likely imagining the need to gather the fabric in her hands before running wildly through the woods. "You should be. They prefer red hair, I've heard," I said, barely keeping from laughing. I needed the comic relief as much as she did.
"The color is reminiscent of salmon, you know, and—" "Stop it, Belle," she said, slapping my arm. "Truly, you know how I get, and to agitate me at a time such as this is highly unkind."
I apologize. I'd known Marie Austin for over half a decade, and still found it difficult to determine her moods. At times, she preferred her fears to be thwarted with merriment, and at others, like now, she demanded earnestness. If a bear nears our camp, which it is apt to do with all the cooking and the like, and it comes upon you, simply stay still. If you're standing, slowly wave your arms so it knows you're a human. The mention of bears took me back to fishing on Elk Run with Father. It was dusk, and I could see his weathered hands, stained black from coal dust, as they froze on the trout he was cleaning. "Still, Belle, still," he'd whispered, nodding to an enormous black bear that had just come down the hill to the creek. "If he comes closer, just lift your hands and wave them real slow. Remind him you're a girl, not a predator."
"And how would you know?"
Marie Austin charged. Her fear had been stoked into anger, displayed in the wash of blush across her nose. I thought fast. "Worth told me, in one of his letters." Mother had forbidden me to speak of the particulars of our former life the moment I met Papa Shipley. No one in my current acquaintance, save Mother, knew my true history, and they never would. I could say that I'd been born in West Virginia. I could say that my father had been in the mining business and perished in a roof collapse. I could not say he was a regular coal miner and not a manager or operator. All of Red Dragon had watched Boss Elkhorn, the coal mine operator, turn out his first wife and banish her from town when he discovered that she'd grown up impoverished. He'd then swiftly married a rail magnate's daughter. Several months later, his first wife's emaciated body was found beneath a fallen tree she'd been living under 11 miles from town. She hadn't been able to survive the harsh mountain winter. When Boss Elkhorn refused to allow her burial in Red Dragon, the miners who found her buried her in the dirt below the felled tree, left forever alone. Though she never spoke of it, I knew Mother worried we'd endure the same fate if our past was revealed. It was one of my greatest fears, too. Mother hadn't meant for Papa Shipley, a millionaire who owned the majority of the gasoline wells in Indiana, to assume she was well-to-do. It had just happened that way. She'd been modeling a dinner dress for Hadley's department store's spring fashion show for extra money and was taking a break for water on the sidewalk when Papa drove through Red Dragon on his way to vacation at the homestead and noticed her. He'd stopped and asked her to dinner. When she'd said she lost her husband the year before, he commented that the mining company was likely lost without his leadership. She didn't correct him because the paper had just called Father a leader in his obituary. Nevertheless, it occurred to me.